national conversation around Russian hacking and Hillary Clinton's emails has put cybersecurity back in the headlines. Yet it's not something that just government officials need to worry about. Every business is at risk, especially as more and more of the work we do migrates online. Whether it's selling goods and services or simply storing our critical information in the cloud or in a server at the office. Well, for more than 20 years, a woman-owned business in Pittsburgh's North Hills has been on the front lines advising clients on how to protect their online assets and, in some cases, even their reputations from cyber attacks. Karen Puchalsky is founder and president of Innovate e-commerce, and welcome. Good to have you here.
Great, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, 21 years ago, getting into e-commerce, you were really on the cutting edge of what was happening back then.
Yeah, ironically, 21 years ago was when the internet was just first coming about and people were trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, and so what's your niche? What does Innovate e-commerce really focus on?
We focus on managing company supply chain. So like I usually tell people, we tend to be the translator. So we tell people if they're trading with their customers, we translate what their data looks like to what their customers' data looks like, and vice versa. So we translate and manage anything from purchase orders, invoices, whatever goes through us.
So every system is different, and without the translator, they may just not be able to
can't talk.
They can't talk, they can't conduct business,
Exactly.
and so obviously their supply chain freezes up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I would imagine the security issue has gotten to be more and more critical to all of this over the past 20 years.
It is, and because it's a global economy and people are trading everywhere in any different ways electronically, obviously it makes us more vulnerable as well as more efficient.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, what got you into it in the first place?
Well, exactly the introduction of the internet. A lot of companies were trying to figure out what to do with it, and the company I was working for and a lot of other companies were like, let us help you, and oh, by the way, here's a product that we sell that works for you. And what I found in talking to customers and companies, that it wasn't just one product or one company. They wanted to look at what could they do best. And so we stepped out and said, okay, let's look at not what one company sells, but what do you need? It could be a combination of different products and services. So we did that, and we realized, well, wait a minute, we can do it better. So we started doing it ourselves and managing services.
And here you are 21 years later. But what do you tell your clients about the current environment that we're operating in? Everything I hear is the whole issue of cyber attacks, people trying to get a hold of your data, ransomware, all that stuff is only just getting worse and worse every year.
Unfortunately, it is. But I think what people miss, and a lot of times they talk about, is cybersecurity and they're losing data, but what they really have to think about is, if you cannot access your data for however many days because you have been attacked, how do you run your business? So you really have to look at it, to me, in two different ways. One is, okay, how do you protect the data? But also, how do you run your data? How do you run your business if you can't access or get to your data? So you really have to look at it from both a business side and a technical side of how to protect yourself.
Well, and it really is. That's almost like a disaster recovery or crisis management mode you have to be planning for all the time.
Right, right. And you should be planning for it now, not after you've been attacked.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So what steps you need to think about as you really want to take this seriously? Maybe it's been on the mind of a business owner or somebody in charge of these kinds of functions. What are sort of the first steps to begin to get your arms around it?
Well, first of all, you have to remember that it doesn't matter how big or small you are. And ironically, most people, when they hear cyber attacks happening, they think of big companies, and it's really the most vulnerable are small companies, because hackers know that small companies don't have the resources and the money, so they're easier to get to. So I may not necessarily want to get to your company, but I may want to get to your company's customers, because they're the big guys, so that's how I can get to you. So,
well, we heard about that a few years ago. Wasn't it Target that got brought down, but the gateway in was through one of their suppliers or vendors or somewhere in their chain?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the first thing you really need to do is you need to, one, look at your data and what is the most important information for you to run your company. And then once you understand what that is, then you have to look at, okay, how do I protect it, and what do I need to do to make sure it's protected? Whether it's, software, hardware, firewalls, whatever, but also a plan that if in fact you were hacked, what do you do? And that's key. Most people, they say, well, if we were hacked, we run around with our head on fire. Well, that's not going to happen, and that's not going to help. So if you get and develop a plan, that's your most important thing that will help you survive a cyber attack.
It's the whole business of business continuity. It's the same way you would think about, well, my business is beside a river. What would happen if Wi-Fi got flooded
Right,
out. You ought to be thinking about this as well all the time.
Exactly, correct.
Do you necessarily need to do it in-house, or are there plenty of resources out there to help companies?
You can do both. You know, there's a lot of things you can do in-house. We a lot of times we say, you know, bring somebody in, because what they do is they look from the outside in as opposed to the inside out, and they can look at things that you may not, because it's, you know, forest trees. You know, I live with it day in and day out, so what I may or may not see, somebody else coming in will help. So a lot of things you can do yourself with very minimal or current resources, and some of the things that we say, bring somebody in to take a look at it, ask you questions that maybe you or yourself may not think to ask.
All right, some words to the wise about protecting ourselves in the cyber world we live in. Karen Puchalsky is founder and president of Innovate e-commerce. Thank you so much. Congratulations on 21 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure enough. Next up, taking the pain out of accessing the healthcare system. Stay with us.